Well, hey everyone, it's Marcus and welcome to more Zooming in the Jungle Room. I am going all the way over to the UK today where I'm speaking to a total world music legend. He is, of course, Roachford, but also known as Andrew Roachford, MBE. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. A bit cold, but I'm good.
Oh, yeah, well, I was just saying to you, it's kind of summer over here, so we're kind of like polar opposites. But
Yeah, so jealous.
I mean, like, good Lord, your career, I mean, you had your first success in 1988, when you burst onto the scene, I mean, the songs Cuddly Toy, Family Time,
Mm,
and of course, Find Me
yeah.
Enough Love. Um, Whew, what a dizzy period. And I mean, still, these decades later, you're still touring, still performing, still recording music, and doing a plethora of things. But let's start at the beginning. What was that period like for you in the 80s?
Can't remember. So long ago. No, I can remember, and I remember it was amazing. Um, I, I, I mean, just getting a record deal. My focus was like, wow, I get to record these demos that I wrote at my mum's house. I was living with my mum, and just come out of my teens, and I was just like, yeah, I'm getting to record in a proper studio, and then the next thing I knew, started hearing my songs on the radio, and at the time my band we were going up and down the motorway touring in an old little white transit van. um, I mean, really, really basic, and started hearing the songs on the radio, and then realized it was never going to be the same after that. So it was an exciting time. I didn't know what hit me, and yeah, it was fun, so much fun. Still is fun now, but it was a different. It was just mad.
Don't you find, I mean, I talk to a lot of artists that have been around since the 80s, 90s, sometimes even the 60s and 70s. But
Mm,
obviously, when you've had such a beautiful, lengthy career, you've seen so many changes occur in the music industry. Obviously,
mm,
more recently, with the, streaming and whatnot platforms. Um,
yeah.
find it more of a challenge to produce music these days or easier to produce? How do you find it?
I mean, I'm still sort of old school. I write songs. I'm a songwriter, and um, I, it's all about when I'm feeling inspired, when I'm not feeling inspired, and so that hasn't really changed anything. I think you have to kind of just keep writing songs and ignore the fact that the way people listen has changed in some ways. So people now can, they're streaming, they're listening on Spotify, and they can take one song from you and listen to. And so it's not so much about albums as it maybe was at one point. And in a way, that's okay because the music business, like everything else in the world, is constantly going through change, as it should, different generations kicking in. And it wasn't always about the album, in the 60s, maybe the 50s, it was about singles. And then Beatles come along, for example, and everyone's all about the album. So it just shifts, it's constant shift. But at the end of the day, one thing that stays the same is a good song is still a good song. It's still the emotion that resonates with people on a very human level that never changes. And there's got hundreds of people now because you can make an album in your bedroom on a little laptop, but there's still not more big great songs than there was before. It's still a thing that is hasn't changed. That hasn't changed.
Mm. And don't you find, obviously, since that 2020 period, when the whole world went through that crazy, crazy time, that music was something that we really hung on to. Actually, nature and music is something we really hung on to during that time. And like you say, there were a lot of artists that were recording a lot of their music in their homes, in their bedrooms, etc.
Mhm.
Hey, you touched
Yeah.
on obviously being a songwriter earlier ago, which of course I know. But I mean, you've had people like Michael Jackson, Shaka Khan, and someone else I adore as well, Joss Stone. I mean, her music is insane. Want to collaborate with you and have collaborated.
Mm.
How do you feel when
Some of
someone like
them.
Michael Jackson reaches out to you,
Yeah.
or you find out that he's a fan of your music? How does that make
Mm.
you feel?
Well, yes, he did reach out to me, and it was. someone like Michael Jackson, because I remember watching him as a kid
Mm.
in the Jackson Five and just thinking that they were all from another planet. You know, it was that so far out of reach, and then seeing him in the 80s performing at Wembley Stadium in London. So the idea of the fact that he reached out to me when he was making, I think it was the Dangerous album, and his manager said, "Oh yeah, he loves your music. You know, he you remind him of like Sly Stone, Sly and the Family Stone, who I love. You know," and I was like, "What, Michael Jackson?" And like, yeah, you know, checking you out, mate. You know, and
Wow.
I've had a few of those moments where it has definitely been a pinch me moment, and it's just, I guess it makes you know that you're on the right track because whether you're selling billions of records or not, you know that the people that for your mind count know what they acknowledge what you're doing in a big way. I remember having Billy Joel invite me and my mate to a show in London, and before the show, I had to go to the dressing room, and he was grilling me about one of my songs, Cuddly Toy, about how did you go to that change at the chorus, and I'm sitting there going, I've got Billy Joel asking me how I put a song together. You know, it
That's
doesn't get more surreal, and there's been lots of moments like that where people that you kind of grew up listening to, and that's a big verification if you need it.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what? I mean, the same way that you feel about these artists, whether it be Michael Jackson or Billy Joel, you know, I mean, they think the same about you. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's no mean feat. I mean, 11 studio albums, let alone the compilation albums as well. But I mean, your career is like massive, massive, as big as all those. Hey, let's go back to when you were a child. Who were you listening to in your bedroom on the radio or, you know, on the cassette player back then?
Yes.
Who were you listening to that was starting to inspire you to get into the music game?
Oh my God. I mean, where do you start? I mean, it was a little bit like, I mean, most kids, you know, they have their own corner, their own space, and they listen to music, and it's so separate from what their parents even have a clue, you know. But
Yeah.
me, because I grew up in a musical family, I was connected with my parents musically. You know, I was in a band with my uncle, my dad played drums. It was all happening in the house. So I listened to the same music that they listened to, which was a lot of Motown and Stax music,
Yep.
uh, whether it be Otis Redding, Sam Cooke, you know, Al Green, but I was also listening to music of my then generation in the late 70s and the 80s, which was, you know, my parents are from the Caribbean, so I listened to reggae music from the Caribbean. I listened to stuff that was on the radio. It would have been the Elton Johns, Queen, you know, great songs that were, you know, the big pop hits that were on top of the pops at the time that all went in, you know, I was like a sponge. So yeah, that's then my taste became very eclectic. And then I discovered the blues, which I just resonated with. And then I discovered people like Jimi Hendrix, and it really changed a lot for me.
Mm. Hey, I've got to tell you, you touched on reggae. We've actually got the original Wailers, you know, from the Bob Marley
Oh
band,
my God.
touring Australia next week. So next Wednesday, I'm
Oh,
going to see them. I cannot even wait. Amazing.
oh my God.
And you know what? Funny enough, they're actually playing at the Gov, which is where you are going to be playing when you come
Oh
to.
wow.
We'll talk about it tour very shortly. But hey, something that I'm not sure if everyone's aware of, and I certainly wasn't until only a couple of weeks ago. But I mean, you're currently playing and touring with Mike and the Mechanics as well, which is, you know, the post-Genesis bands. Um,
Yes.
I mean, they've got some banging hits as well. Do you enjoy playing with other bands like that?
It's not something that I've made a habit of. It's one of those things that I think was destined to happen because, of course, when I was started putting out records, Mike and Mechanics were putting out their stuff at the same time, and of course, I knew the big Genesis songs. Of course, I'd heard of Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel and all that. So when I got the phone call, I guess it's like 12, 13 years ago from Mike Rutherford, would I like to maybe experiment with writing with him. It was like, wow, I don't, you know. And then I started writing with Mike, and it was like, well, this is going to be a new Mechanics album. And I was like, so they've got the original singers, Paul Carrack and Paul Young. Sadly, one of those guys, Paul Young, had passed away, and Paul Carrack had moved on to do his solo thing, and Mike asked me, "Would you be, we're co-writing these songs with your voice, so we might as well continue and play them live." And obviously, when you play live, you got to do the back catalogue of the Mike and the Mechanics. You can't not do the Living Years or Over My Shoulder or Cup of Coffee. So yeah, I became a mechanic
Oh, I love
as
it.
a day job, I guess. And so it was literally like 1 year touring with my mechanics, and then 1 year I'd be doing my tours, Roachford, and we kind of all been alternating ever since.
Hey, is
And
there
so
a
literally next year, I'm going out with mechanics right up to days before I go off to Australia. So I'm doing like the winter through to spring with mechanics, and then I go off to Australia. So yeah.
Does it make you feel, do you ever kind of like look at your life and be, after, these decades of, being in this industry, the fact that you're still in demand and still doing what you love, to the ability that you do it, does it kind of make you go, wow, I'm grateful?
Of course, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful, of course, especially to the fans who are those that have stuck with me through all the different changes and just love me as an artist, and not just about what single that's in the charts. That it's actually like they love me as an artist, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And also, I think when I was in the 80s, like, well, the late 80s, early 90s, when the big songs were out there, I was still thinking that I'm still learning. I haven't got to anywhere near where I want to get as a writer, as a singer, whatever. So for those people at the time, well, you can't get any better than that. That's your era. I was going, what? I've just started. So I was expected to be around for a long time because I was feeling like I was just getting going. And I feel like I'm getting comfortable in my skin as a musician, as a singer, as an artist. So yeah, it's still fresh for me.
Hey, is there a contemporary artist that you've got your eye on at the moment that you actually really admire, that you'd be like, you know what, I'd like to do a collaboration with you?
Man, it's weird because just the other day I think I was watching something on television, and an artist that I'd never heard of, I'm looking up the name now, was doing this song. It's completely new. It's called Lonesome Man it's either a band or it's a guy, just a bit like me, Roachford scenario, called Jemanuel. It's like Emmanuel with a J in the beginning. And it was real soul, old school soul, but with a fresh twist to it. And I thought, wow, that's got my attention. That's got my attention. It doesn't happen very often in that way, but they got me.
Oh, cool. Hey,
Yeah.
your illustrious career so far, have you got a career highlight that, really tops the list for you? Highlight.
You know what? One of the highlights, because there's so many. I mean, meeting Stevie Wonder will always be the thing, but also being invited to Buckingham Palace to get an MBE, which is an award acknowledgement of services to music, was definitely a highlight because I remember that day very clearly. It was one of those rare days where in the morning the sky was blue, and we were driving in the car. I put on the radio, and one of my songs, my new song, was on the radio at the time. So it was really. I was with my brother, who sadly a month after that passed away. I was with my mum, and so that was probably the one. But also playing Wembley Stadium as a special guest for In Excess all those years ago was very special, and people come to me still to this day and go, I was there. I'm like, how many of you were there? I meet people every other minute that said that they were there, and they remember it because it was a special day.
Hey, so with your vast song list, is there a song that you really resonate with, that you hold really close to your heart?
Well, I mean, I do tend to sort of get excited about the more recent ones because they're so fresh out of the oven. When I did a song Love Remedy, which is on my last album before the current one, I've and actually that got so much airplay. It was probably the most airplayed song I've had in many, many years. And it was just special. And that's what was playing when I was going into Buckingham Palace. So it holds a soft spot to me, and I like songs that when you play them live and you're playing to the audience and they've come for a particular thing, Pale Shade of Blue, I want to hear, I need to be with you, whatever. And you play them a song, but they don't know it, but instantly they get it and they love it instantly from the performance. That's it for me.
I'm
It's
going to
always a
say
good
something.
sign.
So I've been playing your music all morning as I've been getting ready for the interview since I woke up. And guess what song's on now? What We Had, which is with, well, you would know who it was with, but it was with Beverly Knight. What an incredible
Yes.
song. I can hear it in the backgrounds now, and it's just incredible. I
Thank
mean, your list of beautiful music is just it's like I said, vast and incredible.
you.
Something to be proud of, obviously. Um, Hey, let's talk about the tour. Obviously, you've just brought out a new album, which was, I think it was 2023 it came out,
Then
called
and now.
Then and Now, and
Mhm.
which is leading you into the Then and Now Greatest Hits Australian tour, which of course is coming to Adelaide on the 17th of May 2025. And you are playing the Gov, which is going to be great. One of my favorite venues. Have you played there before?
Oh, no,
Okay.
no. Not
When
that I know of, but it's been 20 years, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a
Probably
while,
so.
right? It's due.
Mm.
It's the tour that is due.
Yes, overdue.
What can we expect from the tour this time round?
Man, I mean, for me, I'm always pushing. I'm always pushing. I mean, and a gig is about the energy. One of my favorite performers of all time is James Brown, and not just. It's just about how is it that that energy just comes and it takes you over, and it sets you free in that way. It's like it's the church of James, and that's what I reach for. I'm like, that's what I'm reaching for. And so it's not just about, well, what songs are you playing? You're going to stand there and play, back to back your hits and this song. No, it's about the energy and the audience and the participation. So I'm looking forward, and I love the Aussie crowds because they really go for it. I'm looking forward to that spirit, that party in the room, like the roof is going to come off. That's what a Roachford show is about, especially now.
Andrew Roachford, I could talk to you for hours because your life has just been so insane. And I mean, I was a fan back in the 80s. So I mean,
Wow.
literally could
You
talk for
look too
hours.
young. You must have been 4. I was 4 when I put out Cuddly Toy. 4 years old,
You're
I
so
think.
kind. You're so kind. Hey, please, when you come to Adelaide in May, I would love to meet you. I'd love to come up and say hi. I will definitely be there regardless.
Oh,
But
man.
please, all the best. I hope you have an amazing 2024 Christmas. Um,
Likewise, man.
Everyone, get out and buy your tickets for Roachford. Then and Now Greatest Hits. It is touring Australia in May. Like I said, coming to Adelaide, 17th of May. Andrew Roachford, you have the most amazing day today.
Thank
And
you. You too.
thank you for chatting with me.
It's a pleasure, man. Are you a musician, by the way?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, you can
I love.
know that. All right. Well, we'll have a chat. Uh, when we at the gig, the Gov at the
I love
Gov.
it. I love it. I
Yeah.
will see you in 2025, my friend.
Cheers, man. Take
Thank you.
care.